The whole cycle of clinical trials is a slow-moving pipeline. How can AI help you optimize that?
Give people the ability to see their probability of success before they even set foot in the clinic.
We'll do it faster with less cost.
How does this process change when you move from lab work to testing in the body? What allows us to make that step to test in a living system?
So first we'll start at the bench here, get molecules, proteins. This is what's all called preclinical. So obviously we're not in people yet, but we start with cell culture, start with animal models like mice, but then could go to rhesus or primate models. Then you do the phase 1 clinical trial where we think it's safe, we think it has a specificity towards a target. Phase 1 trials are 10 or 15 people, so you start very small, and if it looks like it's working, then you go to phase 2, then 3. And what's often called phase 4 now is just, once it's out on the market, you keep an eye on it.
So right now it's really hard for a pharma company or a biotech to make a new investment into developing a new drug. It takes billions of dollars, 5-10 years, and so it's harder to create these drugs to treat rare diseases or individualized therapies. If we can make it more efficient, make it cheaper, but still do this safely, we're going to be able to treat diseases that we couldn't actually make the investment in before. And that's really the end game, being able to optimize patient outcomes. There's times when there's no therapy available to some people because the investments are too costly to bring a new drug to the market. And so that's why there's such this big focus on the impact in AI, machine learning, data in the R&D place. Because if we speed that up, we actually speed up and create efficiency in the entire organization, all the way to patient care.
Regulations are necessary hurdles that ensure a new drug works the way we intend before market approval. But how are they evolving with emerging technologies like predictive analytics and artificial intelligence? My name's Kelsey Miklosh, Head of AI Solutions for Health and Life Sciences at Dataiku, and I'm looking at how even the most strictly regulated operations in life sciences, clinical trials and manufacturing, are being impacted by AI.
Regulation is always going to be a lot of paperwork and proving that whatever result you put out there is traceable, justified, and there is enough evidence to get behind what you have submitted. It's for the safety of all the patients and to make sure that the due diligence has been done before something gets injected into the body en masse, right? AI will always have a human in the chain. It's only going to help create new content that still has to be verified by legal, verified by experts and physicians to make sure that its outcomes are validated before it can be sent to a regulatory agency.
While AI may never be able to replace some processes, like human testing, it is being used by companies around the world to improve other aspects of clinical trials, like how we design them in the first place.
My name's Jonathan Crowther. I'm the head of predictive analytics for Pfizer's PRD organization. So I've been really lucky to work in the analytics and artificial intelligence space over the last 6-7 years. In research and development and in clinical operations in particular, the data we have is fantastic. And things like IoT, Internet of Things, medical devices that are relaying information in real time is super, super valuable for us. So if you think about something simple as finding the right locations to place a clinical trial, to gather patients, how do we know the patients are there? So we need to start to look at all the different types of data that's available. It could be insurance data, it could be past enrollment data for clinical trials. Could be patient databases, can be patient advocacy networks. And AI in particular will help us be able to decipher that high volume of data to help us find the right location for trials.
Can we speed up in terms of, can I identify my biomarker ahead of time? Yes. Can I get to a point where I know everything about the population, the patients that I need to be putting into this clinical trial? Yes, we should speed that up. What we shouldn't speed up is actually doing the right clinical trial and let that take its course.
But there are things you can do. You can be more adaptive in how you continuously feeding into those models and those trials, and you can also be very efficient in how you collect the information and then get the results in a more sort of adaptive, ongoing process.
So it's an exciting time because we're generating all this wearable data and quantified self data. But ingesting it has taken a bit of work in the lab because in the electronic medical records, there wasn't really like an Apple Watch field. What's good though is a lot of the medical systems like Epic or other systems have begun to create fields for genomics data, for wearables data. We've begun to build it into our algorithms that even, for example, the Inspiration 4 mission, the Apple Watch had never flown in space before. So we got it validated and flew it and got it up there and used that data to characterize the crew and are publishing that data shortly. So it is really very doable.
So if artificial intelligence can help find the right location for trials and then aid in the data collection during the trials, can it help us understand the findings?
I'm David West, co-founder and CEO of Proscia. We build software for pathologists and scientists and help change the way the world practices pathology.
This is typically what a pathologist or scientist would look at, in this case, in a breast study. The most common stain for a pathologist to look at is H&E, that pink and purple. It's what most people are used to seeing when they think about tissue images or microscopy.
And so usually this is, if this was done in the lab, this would be someone looking through a microscope at this.
Exactly, yep. But maybe the computational applications are able to see things that the pathologist would not be able to see, or be able to improve reproducibility. The pathologist's subjective report is core to the nature of this study. And so, for example, in clinical trials, many organizations are starting to think about objective, AI-based criteria for maybe determining patient eligibility for the trial, or maybe even as an endpoint in that trial.
Right, like being able to see efficacy, is the drug working? And so
Exactly.
now you have this standardized way.
Once a drug has been through rigorous clinical testing, the same rigor in quality manufacturing is needed. AI continues to be useful to us in increasingly digitized production and distribution practices. Pharma 4.0 proposes an operating model that leverages smart technologies to improve productivity, simplify compliance, and create efficiencies with connectivity in manufacturing and supply chains.
In terms of manufacturing processes, you are improving the processes by adding a lot of more sensors, a lot more conditions monitoring. You are assisting your manufacturing team remotely for any issues. Then you are predicting, okay, how much of supply you need. So if you look at the Pharma 4.0, I would refer to this model by the ISP group, and it kind of takes care of all the different elements. The core component is how do you organize the processes in a more central manner? What's the best culture in it? And how do you consider the information systems that can support this whole activity together, and the resources where the digitization of the workforce of the future is going to be at play?
AI is helping us at step by step optimize our supply chains. It's helping us better predict the timeframes. It's helping us identify and pinpoint latencies that can be addressed. It's helping us balance out imbalances in supply. It's also helping us anticipate disruptions in a much more timely way. So it's helping us piece together all the information that's out there to say, this kind of weather event in this location with this situation could interrupt supply to this particular geography, and therefore we have to prepare ourselves or mitigate that in some way.
One of the use cases for AI in supply chain is within cell and gene therapy. There are now products on the market where they have a CAR T cell to treat hematological cancers. Those drugs are quite complex because the raw supply for the medicine comes from the patient themselves, and so each patient is a batch size of one, which means you're creating the product from the cells from the patient. You have to collect those cells, you have to send them to a manufacturing site, you transform them into a curative cell type that then you put back into the patient. So those autologous CAR T cells represent a real supply chain challenge. And so one of the opportunities is to apply machine learning techniques to essentially become more predictive about where is there risk in this end-to-end process and where can we intervene faster.
There could be geopolitical issues, pandemics closing routes. There could be ships blocking canals. How do we get drug to those hospitals then if we don't think about that? So AI ultimately in manufacturing, operations, sales is actually an end-to-end process.
There hasn't yet been an AI-approved drug. AI in the sense that all of the decisions leading up to the design, the target selection, and actually the delivery of the drug has been highly informed by AI. I know for our lead drug candidate, we were able to go from nothing to something that is viable and usable in the clinic in only 18 months and using $2.7 million. That's a lot faster and cheaper, kind of an order of magnitude faster and cheaper. And now it's in phase 2 where the real test is being done. And so we think that this could be the first AI-approved drug on the market, period. The whole AI space, the pharma world is watching us very, very closely right now.
If you can bring a drug to market that fast, it also allows us to think of tackling diseases, rarer diseases, at a much faster pace. And that would be this real proof point that shows that we can transform this industry.